The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.
Hey guys, well today I got another bad dad news story for you. I haven't given you a bad dad news story in a while, so I figured today's a good day. Little Georgie Adamo's birthday's coming up in a couple of days. I figured let me talk about little Georgie Adamo. Now, when I met little Georgie Adamo, I just moved to Bed Avenue. I was about 7 years old. I moved to Bay 16th and Bed. I moved to the third floor at 8784 Bay 16th Street. Right off the corner was Frankie the Chico's club. Anthony Sparrow wasn't even made then. Frankie the Chico was. Anthony Sparrow got made later on, a couple years later. And Bed Avenue was a neighborhood when we were growing up. Everything that went on, there was a reason for it. There was a lot of craziness, and growing up in that neighborhood, we actually were used to it. It was like something that was normal for us, the normalcy. And when I met little Georgie Adamo, he was actually walking up the street with a pea cap, and he had a cigarette in his hand. And he was about 7, 8 years old, and he looks at me. I look at him, and he knew I just moved to the neighborhood. He said, "You just moved here?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Why? What do you care?" And he said, "Oh, because this is my neighborhood." He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Jimmy." He said, "Georgie." And then you know what? We started hitting it off, and we became childhood friends forever. Now, I didn't know anything about little Georgie Adamo at that time. He just lost his father. His father was murdered in 1975, about a year or 2 years before I met him. And I started understanding little Georgie Adamo's life. You know, I went on journeys with him to Sheepshead Bay to go see his godfather, Eddie Leno. And we used to ride our bikes out there. And Eddie Leno would be surrounded by all these guys at a table, all big shots, a lot of money. And he would always stake us $100 bill a piece. At that time, me and little Georgie, we had mongooses and red lines. I don't know if you know about the bikes back then. You had the Diamondbacks. And all the bikes, you wanted your bike to be as light as it can. The alloy rims, the Oakley grips, and all that, right? Doing tricks. Little Georgie Adamo was good on a bike. He was good with sports. Now, little Georgie Adamo's life was carved in concrete. It was supposed to be. Little Georgie Adamo was supposed to be straightened out at one time. If he don't fall to drugs, there's no doubt in my mind, little Georgie Adamo would have been a made man in one of the crime families, probably the Bonanno crime family, because his father, Georgie Crowbar, was a big shot, and he was very well respected, and he was very fed, and he was a money guy with a lot of babanya and dope, made tons of money. He bought a house at a young age, provided for his family, and I have a lot of photos of him with Georgie's mom, little Georgie when he was a kid. But growing up in that neighborhood, you don't know where your life is going to take a turn. And little Georgie Adamo's life took a turn when it came to drugs. He fell to drugs, and that's when he started destroying his life. But it also had a lot to do with the characters in the neighborhood. So I'm a young kid. We're going in and out of Anthony Sparrow's social club, Frankie the Chico social club. We got Nick's candy store right next door. We're hanging out. The wise guys are coming in. You can't use the payphones. And at this time, you had all the video games. You had Centipede, you had Invaders, Space Invaders, you had Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, all the video games in the back. And we had a little table in back of Nick's candy store with crates we would sit on, and we would play cards. We would play knuckles, okay? We would hit each other's knuckles, and we would play spades. And these are games we grew up with. And Scotty Fabiano will come in. Now, Scotty Fabiano at this time, he was a neighborhood hoodlum, I would say. Little, you know what I mean? A thug, wanted to be a gangster. He ended up going away for 25 years. But this is a guy that eventually would turn us on to cocaine later on in life. Him, Georgie Adamo, Frankie Mariconda, Charlie Tuna. And we got to know these guys. And they started installing in us things in the neighborhood. Saying, you can't hang out with this one. You can't hang out with that one. You can't grow your hair long. And we started becoming a product of these guys. Started doing the same thing as them. So we're in and out of the social clubs, and all of a sudden, we're doing a favor for Frankie Bowler. Now, Frankie Bowler was a guy in the neighborhood that was not a wise guy. He got straightened out later on when he came back from prison. I knew him very well. He looked like James Cagney, actually. And he wanted a window broken across the street. There was this oil company. And he said, I want you to break this window, throw a brick through it. And me and Georgie Adamo, we put on a mask and we threw a brick through it. Went around the corner, came back. Frankie Bowler said, good job. At this time, you had guys in the neighborhood hanging out. You had Sally Temperino. Sally Temperino was a thief in the neighborhood, a good thief at it. Later on in life, he ends up getting murdered. And he used to rob all the stores on 86th Street. 86th Street in my neighborhood was underneath the L. This is where everyone hung out at the time. People will come from Long Island, Staten Island, all over the 5 boroughs to cruise down 86th Street. It was a big train style L, the train tracks, and everyone would hang out, and everyone would be on different corners. People would have the boombox radios hanging out. Everyone would have hairdos. The girls would have big hairdos with hairspray all over. And it was a major hangout. You cruise down the L and you listen to loud music. I'm going to give you a couple of pictures. This way you get an idea. This is a photo of the L. That's actually the pizzeria, Lenny's Pizzeria, where John Travolta walked down there with Saturday Night Fever. When he grabs the 2 slices and he walks down 86th Street and the music starts playing. This is also another photo of when they have the parties every so often. But you can see that they have all the stores at this time. All stores located on 86th Street. And this is the time when, at nighttime, we would go there and we would rob the stores. We would go in back of the stores, bust open the back door, grab what we wanted, put it in a stolen van, and take off, and then we would sell it to all the guys in the social clubs, and a lot of guys we would give stuff away to, but we would make a profit. And this is how we made our bones when we were a kid, stealing. So little Georgie Adamo and I became friends growing up. And we got into a lot of mischief. There were times when me and little Georgie Adamo was barred from the avenue. Anthony Spale would bar us. We would go rob a house. We would steal some video equipment, steal someone's house. And Spale would bar me and Georgie Adamo. And then a couple of days later, we were allowed to come back around. But this is how we grew up. We were like little hoodlums, and every so often we would get a kick in the ass. But growing up in my neighborhood, you knew the laws and the rules of the neighborhood. You had to have respect, and you had to respect these guys. So I speak a little Georgie Adamo today because his birthday's coming up. May he rest in peace. He was born into this life. Eddie Leno baptized him. Eddie Leno was their friends with his father, Georgie Crowbar. And Georgie Adamo was supposed to be a made guy at one time. As you see, the photo behind me, that's little Georgie Adamo in the middle. That's me with the brown bomber jacket. And then you got John Polio on the side. John Polio was the first one to be murdered out of my friends. And in the course of this life, after Georgie Crowbar passed away, and Georgie Crowbar was very well respected, Anthony Sparrow was supposed to take Georgie Adamo and put Georgie Adamo underneath of his wing. And you know what? Direct him and guide him to become a good product of the street life and the mob. As you see in this photo, Georgie Adamo with Anthony Sparrow. Georgie Adamo was supposed to be a made guy at one time, but unfortunately that didn't happen for him. Georgie Adamo fell to drugs, and he ends up getting murdered in the street right on the corner of his house. So growing up, we had this vision of us becoming something at one time. I never knew how the vision would end, what our destinies would be, but all our destinies was either death or prison sentences. If you look at Paulie G, John Polio, Georgie Adamo, Chestnut, Calco, Reynolds, and they came into the picture later. This is a photo when we were a little younger, but there's a story before the story happens. Before the Bath Avenue crew was formed, it was me, Georgie Adamo, John Padone, some kid Damien, Albert Slavin, and one or two other kids in the neighborhood. The rest of the crew was formed later. But I wanted to share this Bath Avenue story for you because, looking back on my memories and my life, this is my story to tell. And no one will interfere with it. It's going to be told. And hopefully one day you'll be watching it on the big screen, because it's a story of a bunch of young kids growing up, getting into mischief, having fun along the way, but never knew what their destiny would be. They thought they had a future, but their future never happened. It was all death and prison sentences. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. It's a Bath Avenue story by Jimmy Calandra. Until next time, I love you guys. Have a great Thursday. And with that said, talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.
The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.